In the 1970s, money was tight, but black families made every meal count. These simple dishes carried them through some of the hardest times. Here are the 15 foods black families survived on in the 1970s. If these bring back memories, drop a like and share yours in the comments. Government cheese. In the 1970s, when money was tight and grocery budgets were stretched to the limit, government cheese became a lifeline for many black families. It came in that plain cardboard box, heavy, bright orange, and solid enough to bend a knife. But once you got through the struggle of cutting it, government cheese transformed into something unforgettable. It melted like magic. It didn't just melt, it blanketed everything. Grilled cheese sandwiches were thicker, richer, and somehow tastier. Macaroni and cheese felt like a full feast. Even simple toast turned into a warm, comforting treat. Black families made this cheese stretch. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, leftovers, or snacks. Nobody complained because everybody understood the struggle. Commodity food programs helped families survive inflation, unemployment, and rising food prices. Neighbors shared cheese. Cousins sliced it during late-night cravings. It became a household staple and a symbol of resilience. Kids today may laugh at the giant block, but for black families in the 70s, government cheese meant survival and flavor. It was the unforgettable star of tight-budget cooking, and its taste still brings back memories of togetherness, warmth, and resourcefulness during hard times. Powdered milk. Powdered milk was one of those foods every 70s child remembers instantly, whether they want to or not. When grocery money ran short, fresh milk became a luxury, and powdered milk stepped in as the affordable alternative. Black moms mixed it with determination, stirring until the clumps disappeared, pouring it into reused glass jars, and chilling it overnight so it tasted more like real milk. Kids never agreed, but it got the job done. Cereal, powdered milk, cooking, powdered milk, baking, definitely powdered milk. Many families kept a box stored in the pantry just in case, and that case came often. It wasn't glamorous, but it stretched a budget when choices were limited. And if you ever opened the fridge and saw a pitcher of suspiciously thin-looking milk, you already knew money was tight that week. Over time, powdered milk became part of 70s survival culture. Black families learned to adapt, mix, and make it work. It fueled school mornings, late-night snacks, and busy weekends. And while kids may have dreamed of whole milk, powdered milk taught them something bigger: how families pull together and make the best of what they have. Rice and gravy. When times were tough in the 1970s, rice and gravy was a go-to survival meal in black households. It was cheap, filling, and easy to make, but more importantly, it could stretch for days. A single pot of rice and a simple pan gravy could feed a whole family, providing comfort without costing much at all. Black moms could make gravy out of anything: pan drippings, bouillon cubes, flour and water, or leftover meat juices. No matter the method, the result was always delicious. The gravy was poured over hot rice, seasoned to perfection, and served like a blessing. Kids today might see it as simple, but 70s kids remember it as a lifesaver. When money ran low between paychecks, rice and gravy became the dependable meal that kept stomachs full. Some families added onions, leftover meat scraps, or vegetables, anything that stretched the dish even further. It wasn't fancy, but it was home. It was survival. And it tasted better because it represented creativity, love, and the ability to make something out of almost nothing. Rice and gravy wasn't just a meal. It was a symbol of how black families turned humble ingredients into warmth and comfort. Bologna sandwiches. Bologna sandwiches were the unofficial sandwich of the 1970s black household. Cheap, quick, and endlessly versatile, bologna kept families fed when grocery budgets were tight. Black moms could make that one pack of bologna last all week. school lunches, after-school snacks, or quick dinners when time and money were short. Sometimes it was fried, the center cut so it wouldn't bubble up, the edges caramelized perfectly in a cast-iron skillet. Other times it was served cold on white bread with mustard, mayonnaise, or whatever was available. Some families even toasted the bread for extra crunch. Kids today might turn up their noses, but bologna sandwiches were survival food. They were filling, flavorful, and comforting in their simplicity. You didn't need fancy ingredients, just bread, bologna, and creativity. And the best part? Fried bologna smelled like heaven. Every kid ran to the kitchen when they heard the sizzle. Bologna sandwiches represented more than food. They were evidence of how black families in the 70s made ends meet. They stretched ingredients, used what they had, and turned humble items into meals that filled stomachs and made memories. Cornbread and milk. Cornbread and milk was one of the most iconic money-is-tight meals in black households during the 1970s. When the refrigerator was nearly empty and payday was still days away, this simple combination stepped in and saved the day. It was comforting, fast, and surprisingly filling. Black moms baked cornbread not just as a side dish, but as a full meal. Sometimes it was leftover cornbread from Sunday dinner. Sometimes it was freshly made in a cast-iron skillet. Either way, it became the star of the evening. The cornbread was crumbled into a bowl or sliced into large pieces, and milk, often powdered milk, was poured over it like a rustic cereal. It sounds simple, but it tasted like survival and home. Some families sweetened it with a little sugar. Others added a pinch of salt. Everyone had their own way of preparing it, passed down from mothers and grandmothers who knew how to stretch ingredients during hard times. Cornbread and milk wasn't just a budget meal. It was a statement of resilience, a reminder that black families could make something warm and filling even when the pantry was nearly empty. It was humble, nostalgic, and unforgettable. Pinto beans and cornbread. Pinto beans and cornbread kept countless black families going through the 1970s. It was one of the cheapest meals you could make, yet one of the most filling. A single bag of dry beans cost almost nothing and could feed the whole house for 2 or even 3 days. Black moms soaked the beans overnight, added onions, seasonings, maybe a smoked ham hock if the budget allowed, and let them simmer until the whole kitchen smelled like comfort. The beans were thick, flavorful, and hearty. But what completed the meal, what made it feel whole, was the cornbread. Fresh from the oven, slightly crispy on the edges, golden in the center, and baked in a well-seasoned cast-iron skillet, passed down through generations. Some families added sugar to the cornbread, some didn't. Some ate their beans soupy, others preferred them thick. But one thing stayed the same. This meal was survival food that tasted like home. When money was tight, beans stretched for days. Kids carried leftovers to school in thermoses. Families reheated them for late-night bites. Pinto beans and cornbread wasn't just cheap. It was reliable, warm, and rooted in tradition. This meal fed stomachs, but it also fed pride, reminding families that even with little, they could still create something good. Ramen noodles before they were trendy, long before ramen turned into a fancy restaurant dish. It was survival food in the 1970s black household. Cheap, fast, and filling, instant noodles were bought in bulk and used to stretch tight grocery budgets. For just a few cents, a whole meal came together in minutes. And black moms knew exactly how to elevate it. Kids today add toppings because it's aesthetic. But 70s black moms were the real innovators. They added leftover chicken, mixed vegetables, hot sauce, boiled eggs, or even a pat of butter for extra richness. One pot could feed multiple children, especially when bread was served on the side to help fill you up. Ramen was comforting after school, after chores, or late at night when hunger struck and money was short. Kids didn't question it. It tasted good and kept you full. It wasn't seen as cheap, it was seen as necessary. Before social media romanticized it, ramen noodles were a real part of surviving hard times. They were proof that black families could stretch anything and turn even the simplest ingredients into a meal that felt warm and satisfying. In the 1970s, ramen wasn't a trend. It was a lifeline, one pack at a time. Syrup sandwiches. When money got extremely tight in the 1970s, syrup sandwiches became a last-minute lifesaver in black homes. Simple, sweet, and surprisingly filling, they were the kind of meal that only families who lived through hard times truly understand. All you needed was white bread and pancake syrup. Spread it, fold it, and suddenly you had something that passed for a meal. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't meant to be. It was meant to keep kids full when the refrigerator was nearly empty and payday seemed far away. Sometimes moms toasted the bread to make it feel more special. Sometimes they used corn syrup or homemade syrup when pancake syrup ran out. Some kids sprinkled sugar on top to make it even sweeter. Every variation came with the same message. We're making do with what we have. Syrup sandwiches were born out of necessity, but they're remembered with nostalgia today. They took the edge off hunger, carried families through tough weeks, and left a taste that every 70s kid will never forget. It was survival wrapped in simplicity, a reminder of the creativity and resilience that defined black households during hard financial times. Oatmeal as the everyday breakfast. Oatmeal wasn't just a breakfast in the 1970s, it was the breakfast. Cheap, warm, and stretchable, oatmeal fed black families morning after morning when money was tight. One large container could last an entire month, making it one of the most practical survival foods of the decade. Black moms knew how to make it taste good. They added butter, cinnamon, sugar, a splash of canned milk, or even leftover fruit preserves. Some mornings the oatmeal was thick and hearty. Other times it was more like a sweet porridge. Kids didn't realize it then, but their moms were stretching every ingredient while still keeping breakfast comforting. Oatmeal filled you up before school, before chores, and before long days playing outside. It warmed the body, calmed hunger, and left the house smelling soft and sweet. And when you complained, you still ate it because oatmeal was non-negotiable. Fancy breakfasts weren't a thing. Pancakes and bacon were for special occasions. But oatmeal. Oatmeal was everyday survival. It taught consistency, appreciation, and the ability to enjoy simple foods. For black families in the 70s, oatmeal wasn't boring. It was security. The pot simmering on the stove each morning meant that no matter how tough things were, you'd start the day with something warm in your stomach. Canned vegetables with everything. Canned vegetables were a survival essential in 1970s black households. When money was tight and fresh produce wasn't always affordable or accessible, canned goods saved the day. Green beans, peas, corn, carrots. If it came in a can, it was stocked in the pantry. Black moms used canned veggies as stretchers, adding them to meals to make portions larger and more filling. Rice and gravy? Add peas. Stew? Add carrots. Ramen? Throw in corn. Meatloaf? Add mixed vegetables. Nothing left that kitchen without a little something from a can. And of course, everything had seasoning: salt, pepper, butter, onions, bouillon cubes, or bacon fat. Black moms didn't just heat canned vegetables, they transformed them. Kids today might turn their noses up at canned greens, but in the 70s, they were gold. They lasted forever, worked with every dish, and kept families fed through tough weeks. When grocery budgets ran low, canned vegetables meant nobody went to bed hungry. They symbolized practicality and resourcefulness, making the most out of what was available. And even now, one bite of seasoned canned corn can take a 70s kid straight back to their childhood kitchen. Hot dogs stretching the whole week. Hot dogs were a true survival food in the 1970s black household. Cheap, versatile, and easy to cook, they could be turned into a full meal even when the fridge looked empty. Black moms stretched a single pack across multiple days, making it work for lunches, dinners, and after-school snacks. Sometimes they were boiled, sometimes pan-fried until the edges curled up, sometimes sliced into beans or ramen to make the pot look fuller. And if you were lucky, they were grilled on the weekend. But that was a luxury. Hot dogs paired with anything. White bread when buns ran out, mustard, ketchup, relish, or just whatever was in the kitchen. When money was tight, nobody complained. A hot dog meant you were eating something warm. Kids today see hot dogs as cookout food. But 70s kids, they saw them as survival food. A pack in the fridge brought comfort because it meant there was at least something to eat, even during the toughest week of the month. Hot dogs may have been simple, but they were reliable. They filled stomachs, carried families through tight grocery weeks, and became one of the most unforgettable make-it-work foods of 1970s Black childhood. Peanut butter with everything. Peanut butter was a silent hero in 1970s Black households. When money got tight, peanut butter stepped in and held the family down. It didn't spoil quickly, it didn't need refrigeration, and it lasted forever. It was one of the few foods that could make you feel full with almost no effort. Peanut butter sandwiches were standard, sometimes with jelly, sometimes with syrup, sometimes just peanut butter on plain white bread. Kids carried them to school, ate them after homework, or grabbed them right before heading outside to play. But peanut butter went far beyond sandwiches. Black moms stirred it into oatmeal, spread it on crackers, added it to celery, or ate it by the spoon when snacks were scarce. It was energy, comfort, and protein all in one jar. It didn't matter if it was creamy or crunchy. Peanut butter was always there. And when the jar was almost empty, moms scraped the sides like gold was hidden in there. Kids today have aisles of snack options. But for Black families in the 70s, peanut butter was the original all-purpose food that kept hunger away and stretched budgets like nothing else. Canned tuna. Canned tuna was one of the most dependable survival foods of the 1970s. Cheap, filling, and easy to store, it became a go-to when money was tight and protein was needed. One can could turn into sandwiches, salads, casseroles, or a quick dinner when time and ingredients were limited. Black moms mixed tuna with mayonnaise, relish, onions, salt, pepper, and whatever seasonings they had on hand. They spread it onto white bread, crackers, or stuffed it into tomatoes when they wanted to be fancy. Even picky kids ate tuna because it was one of the few things that actually filled you up. And if you ever opened the fridge and saw that large bowl of tuna salad ready to go, you knew it was meant to last at least 2 days. Maybe 3. It wasn't glamorous, but it was practical. For many families, tuna was the protein that fit the budget. It stretched far, tasted good, and could be paired with almost anything. Kids didn't realize it then, but canned tuna was a symbol of resourcefulness, turning something inexpensive into a meal that felt complete. Potatoes in every form. Potatoes were the ultimate budget stretcher in Black households during the 1970s. Cheap, filling, and incredibly flexible, potatoes showed up at the table in almost every form you can imagine. Mashed potatoes, fried potatoes, baked potatoes, stewed potatoes, you name it, a 70s Black mom made it. They were the perfect side dish when meat was scarce. A single bag could last a week and feed the whole family. Fried potatoes with onions for breakfast, mashed potatoes with dinner, potato wedges when money was tight, and leftover potatoes repurposed the next day. Black moms knew how to season them too. Salt, pepper, garlic, paprika, or just butter. Potatoes soaked up flavor and made even simple meals satisfying. And when times got really rough, potatoes became the whole meal. A baked potato piled with whatever leftovers were available could keep a kid full until morning. Potatoes weren't just food, they were survival strategy. They stretched the plate, filled the stomach, and taught families how to make the most out of a single ingredient. To this day, many 70s kids still smile, remembering a skillet full of fried potatoes sizzling in the kitchen, biscuits with syrup or butter. When groceries were running low in the 1970s, biscuits became one of the most comforting last-minute meals in Black households. Made from scratch or from a simple mix, biscuits were cheap, warm, and filling. Everything a survival food needed to be. Black moms whipped them up quickly, sometimes late at night or early in the morning, and paired them with whatever was available. Syrup was the go-to topping during tough weeks, turning a plain biscuit into something sweet and satisfying. If there was butter, even better, the heat from the biscuit melted it into every layer. Sometimes biscuits were eaten with jelly, honey, or even gravy when there was leftover broth. Other times they were dinner all by themselves. Nobody complained. A hot biscuit was a blessing. Biscuits filled the house with a smell that felt like love, warm, soft, and safe. They kept kids full, stretched groceries, and added a little comfort to weeks when money was painfully tight. For 70s Black families, biscuits weren't just bread. They were survival, creativity, and care, served fresh from the oven even in the hardest times.